Timothy Treadwell watched his torn-off arm
Wow.
while the enraged grizzly sank its teeth into him. Screams of his girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, echoed in his head. Both became victims of a merciless predator, devouring them alive. Slow death is the scariest thing imaginable. But on the pain scale, crafted from scientific studies, being eaten alive only rates 100 points.
What? What's two though? Is it the most painful or the least painful? I think it's the least painful. Getting shot, 2%. Getting eaten, 100?
Meanwhile, the most
Shouldn't it be
horrifying
higher?
death is estimated at 140. Stick around until the end to find out what hits that maximum mark.
Should it be burning to death?
But
I think that's the highest.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Wow.
On October 11th, 2012, workers at a seafood processing plant in Santa Fe Springs sounded the alarm. Their colleague,
California.
62-year-old Jose Molina, had vanished suddenly. After nearly 90 minutes of searching, the boiler operator suggested opening the last loaded oven. Inside, they cooked and sterilized tuna at high temperatures. Workers had to wait half an hour for the oven to cool down. All this time, their only thought was, I hope Jose isn't in there. Unfortunately, he was indeed there. When the workers opened the door, they were horrified to find him inside. As it turned out, Molina was loading pallets of canned tuna into the oven when he noticed a malfunction. Without warning anyone, he stepped into the oven to adjust the chain inside. Meanwhile, another worker, not seeing Jose in place, assumed he had already left.
Isn't that a walkie-talkie? Do people not use walkie-talkies anymore?
So, he closed and turned on the oven.
Don't
It was
answer
loaded
that.
with nearly 5,500 kilograms of canned tuna, which began to cook at a temperature of 132 degrees Celsius. Trapped, Jose likely suffered severe skin burns, and then the high temperature began to affect his muscles and organs. Eventually, the poor man was boiled alive. Looking at the pain scale, where, for example, 2 points are attributed to a gunshot to the head, and 91 to a shark bite, while dying from being literally boiled alive hits a staggering 105 points.
But shouldn't it be higher? 105 is pretty low, no? Shouldn't
And
it be
unfortunately,
higher?
such incidents in production happen quite often.
Boiling to
2009,
death?
Vincent Smith II worked at an
What
illegal
the
chocolate
hell?
factory, Cocoa Service in Camden, New Jersey. The 29-year-old worker was dumping giant chunks of chocolate over the edge of a vat, nearly 2.5 meters deep. There, chocolate was melted and mixed. Suddenly, Vincent was struck by a mixer paddle and fell right into the hot molten mass, reaching a temperature of 120 degrees Celsius. His colleagues immediately rushed
How
to
much
shut
is
down the
that?
machine. However, Vincent stayed in the chocolate for a full 10 minutes before rescuers could pull him out. Even though his body was mangled by the giant mixer, Vincent died from burns. The tragedy occurred because the platform he fell from was slippery from splattered chocolate and was directly above the vat without any barriers to protect workers from falling into the boiling mixture. Nevertheless, you don't have to be at a dangerous facility to experience excruciating pain, which
That
on the
sounds
scale
painful.
goes even beyond 105 points. On November 23rd, 2018, a 911 dispatcher heard the shaky voice of a 76-year-old woman. It was Loretta Picard from Polk County, Florida.
I think my house is on fire, and I'm here alone, and I'm on a walker.
Firefighters were immediately dispatched to her house. The dispatcher told the woman to leave the building and go outside, to which she replied.
Couldn't, honey, if I wanted to.
That nervous laugh at the end just breaks your heart. Loretta had recently undergone surgery and couldn't move quickly without assistance. Plus, she couldn't see anything through the smoke. Meanwhile, the fire truck slowly made its way down the rough country road where the woman lived. Loretta was freaking out, worried that nobody would save her, constantly asking if help was really on the way and if they were sure they were coming for her. Then, on the recording, you could hear Loretta start coughing and wheezing, and the sound of the crackling fire in the
Isn't this an
background getting
actor?
louder. But I can't show you what the recording captured next, because then the flames engulfed the woman, who never got the help she desperately needed. She screamed wildly as she burned alive.
No.
The link to the full recording I'll leave in the description
No,
below.
I don't
Loretta
hear
was
it.
dying while firefighters were just minutes away from her yard. The phone call cut out after 20 minutes, and rescuers arrived at the scene 14 minutes later. yet nobody ever went inside to save her. The fire chief claimed that several firefighters attempted to enter the house, but no evidence supports his words, and the dispatcher was blamed for giving ineffective instructions. Due to the negligence of rescuers, Loretta died in agony because the pain from burning alive hits a staggering 108 points. You wouldn't wish such a death on it.
What's more painful than burning alive?
But you know what? I came across a story where a
Is it freezing? Freezing to death? No, I don't think so. Freezing
knowingly
to death?
subjected
No.
themselves to such suffering. On June 11th, 1963, several American correspondents, including
Burning
Malcolm
in a
Brown,
tar.
gathered outside the
I don't know.
Cambodian embassy in Saigon. The day before, journalists were informed that something important would happen there. Buddhists were deeply offended by the disrespect of their beliefs by the South Vietnamese government. So, around 350 monks and nuns gathered for another peaceful protest. Suddenly, not far from the presidential palace, a car stopped and 3 monks got out, including Quang Duc. Malcolm pointed his camera at the trio, not realizing what he would witness through the lens next. Protesters gathered around Quang, who sat on a pillow in the traditional Buddhist meditative lotus pose, while another monk started pouring
They're
gasoline
gonna
over his
burn him
head.
alive.
Quang paid no attention and prayed, and when he finished, he struck
But
a match.
why
The
though?
flames instantly engulfed him, rising up in black smoke. It was a horrifying spectacle. Quang Duc's body slowly withering and shriveling, while his head blackened and charred. I can't show you the photo either, but I'll leave a link below the video. The
No!
scene was very
No,
contrasting,
I think
as
we're
everyone
good.
present there loudly cried, watching the self-immolation, while the monk himself, enduring painful suffering, didn't even flinch or make a sound. Whether it was
Wow.
meditation skills or inner spiritual strength that helped the monk endure the agony of his impending death. I know for sure an ordinary person wouldn't last like that, let alone endure the pain that hits
Did the person who burned him go to jail?
10 points. In 2007,
Not
a
illegal.
33-year-old woman from Hong Kong
Murder.
named Cecilia Chung climbed to the top of Nyiragongo volcano, located in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It last erupted in 2002, flooding the highly populated city of Goma with lava, causing widespread
Yeah, I think this
destruction.
is the most painful.
Since then, the volcano had been relatively
into
safe,
lava.
so tourists from all over the world flocked to see its famous lava lake. It looks like cracked earth in the desert, with hellish streaks of fire rising from it. Cecilia climbed nearly 3,500 meters for this site. The woman was thrilled by the terrifying view of the lake and wanted to take a closer photo of it. To do this, she climbed over the edge of the crater, and suddenly, Cecilia slipped and fell down. However, flying about 200 meters, she hit a protrusion right above the lava lake. Cecilia felt piercing pain because the impact broke several bones. She was thrown into the heat, and it was almost impossible to breathe because she was too close to the lava, the temperature of which could reach 950 degrees
That's a lot.
Celsius. A helicopter,
1,700
rescuers, and a
Fahrenheit.
volcanologist were sent to the scene. At first, Cecilia showed signs of life. However, the rescue operations were stopped due to poor visibility. As a result, without waiting for help, she fell into the volcanic lava lake. Eyewitnesses even hoped that the woman died instantly after the impact and fell into the lava without feeling any pain.
Yeah.
The thing is that on the pain scale, it hits a whopping 110 points.
Whoa.
Death in lava, although painful, is instantaneous. That's why many people consciously chose it to end their lives. In 1933, a schoolgirl named Kyoko Matsumoto climbed Mount Mihara, located on the Japanese island of Ito-Ushima, with a girl from her school. Kyoko was in love with her friend. However, in Japanese society at that time, same-sex relationships were condemned, and this oppressed Kyoko so much that she didn't want to live anymore. The schoolgirl threw herself into the volcano crater before her lover's eyes. The scariest thing in this story is that the girl became a role model for many Japanese people who wanted to end their lives.
No.
By 1935, almost 1,300
die.
people had lost their lives by jumping into Mihara, until the Japanese government built barriers around the area. Still, as countless stories show, people often ignore such prohibitions. In 2016, Colin Scott and his sister, Sable, went on a tour to Yellowstone National Park, known for its geothermal spots. They really look fascinating, but getting close to them is
That's
dangerous.
beautiful.
The water here may not be as hot as lava in a
Beautiful.
volcano, but still, the 96 degrees reached by the local water bodies are enough to cause burns and even kill a person. But Colin and Sable ignored numerous warning signs and crossed the restricted area. Suddenly, the guy slipped and fell into the hot water near the pork chop geyser. Such a death is more painful than death in a volcano because in a hot spring, it doesn't happen instantly, but slowly. Moreover, in almost all the park's water bodies, acid sulfate liquids are
But
present
this is
to
the
a
most
greater or lesser
painful?
extent. So when Scott's sister returned with a few rangers, only parts of her brother's head, torso, and arms were visible in the hot spring. By the next morning, Colin's body had completely dissolved. It seems that there couldn't be worse pre-death suffering, but in fact, there could be. Dissolving in a
There's
geyser
one
is far from
higher?
140 points on the pain scale.
Oh shit.
On September 13th, 1987, in Goiânia, Brazil, the owner of a local landfill, Devair Ferreira, invited neighbors, relatives, and friends over to show them his interesting find. Devair showed them a strange powder. It was sparkling so mesmerizingly that
Mercury?
guests rubbed it on their skin like glitter
No, sorry.
and took it with them to give to someone else. Yet none of them had any idea what this powder really was. The thing is, the man brought scrap metal, and someone brought from a neglected hospital a metal capsule to his landfill. But those who did it didn't realize they had taken it from a radiotherapy machine. Devair Ferreira ordered the capsule to be cut open, where he found the powder, which was actually radionuclide cesium-137. It is used in treatment to create a source of gamma radiation capable of affecting human cells. It's specifically directed at cancerous tumors. But if the radiation isn't controlled, it'll also affect healthy cells. Devair, not realizing it, set off a deadly domino effect. So about 250 people came into contact with the powder. Maria Gabriela Ferreira, the wife of the landfill owner, began to suffer from hair loss and internal bleeding. One of Devair's hired workers, Israel Bautista dos Santos, developed serious respiratory and lung complications. The other one, Admilson Alves de Souza, had his heart affected. However, the most affected was Devair's 6-year-old niece, Lei das Neves Ferreira.
not the
She was
child.
placed in an isolated hospital room, but the staff was afraid to approach the child. The girl gradually developed swelling in the upper part of her body, hair loss, kidney and lung damage, and, just like Gabriela, she suffered from internal bleeding. On the pain scale, these feelings hit a whopping 125 points. All the people who came into contact with the blue powder got various diseases, and this quartet later died. All the items touched by people who came into contact with the powder were buried in a repository on one of the city's mounds and marked for use only in 300 years. Such cases in ordinary
I
life
thought that
are
would be
pretty
the
rare,
highest
but people who
one.
work directly with radioactive elements risk painfully dying literally every day. On August 21st, 1945, less than 2 weeks after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Harry Daghlian was working with the plutonium core at the Los Alamos test site in New Mexico.
I think I
He
saw a
used
TikTok
tungsten
video.
carbide bricks to create a barrier
Plutonium
around
core.
it because the bricks reflected neutrons coming out of the radioactive plutonium back. But when he started laying bricks around the core, he suddenly dropped one of them right on him. At that moment, the brick caused an uncontrolled nuclear fission chain reaction. It covered the scientist with a deadly dose of radiation of 5.1 sieverts. After receiving a radiation burn, a person experiences countless excruciating sensations at once. The skin blisters and ulcers, after which the vessels in it burst, and the person dies.
Oh my
In
god.
addition, due to the high dose of radiation, you feel how each of your organs slowly fails until you die. And that's exactly what happened on the 25th day of Harry Daghlian's suffering. The slow death from radiation and all the previous steps on the pain scale are united by the fact that these pains weren't inflicted intentionally on the victims. However, fortunately, you cannot accidentally expose yourself to suffering that is at the maximum mark of 140 points, even if you find yourself in the mouth of a volcano or in the heart of a nuclear reactor. So, the most painful sensation in the
Oh, this guy scared me.
world is skinning. This refers to a specific torture.
Skinning.
Before it, the skin was softened using sunburns or hot water. Then, the torturer made incisions starting from the least sensitive parts of the body and ending with the delicate skin of the face.
Skinning?
The process was designed to keep the victims alive as long as possible, maximizing pain. Eventually, death could occur from blood loss, shock, or
Do they still do this? Skinning?
infections. But such a method of punishment has existed for quite some time, since the
Oh
times
my
of the ancient
God.
Assyrians, and up to medieval Europe. Nowadays, they don't do it anymore. At least, it's definitely prohibited by law.
Oh, thank God.
Write in the comments what caused you the most pain, and subscribe to my channel if you have nerves of steel and love scary
Skinning.
stories from the lives
First time
of
hearing
real
about
people.
skinning. Skinning. Oh, I'm getting so many political stuff. Whoa. But I thought it would be like burning. Burning in like a boiling hot water. Skinning? Whoa. Wouldn't it be painful if you get eaten up by a bear but you're still alive? Wouldn't that be worse? No, I think skinning is worse. Never mind. Oh, skinning. Oh. Okay, I have another video. What it's like to be a black market surgeon.